Size selection and reps and set schemes for beginner, novice, and advanced lifters. So we're going to talk about how you should train as a beginner, novice, and advanced training athlete or client, whether you are new to this or you are a novice or an athlete. I'm going to give you recommendations on what I would recommend my clients. So first of all, if you're starting off with a basic program, you want to think 2 days per week is probably going to be the most consistent way to adhere to a program. 1 day a week might not give you the type of gains or muscle hypertrophy or strength or whatever you're looking for. So you might want to try 2 days a week, maybe a Monday, Friday routine, a Tuesday, Thursday routine, whatever works best for your schedule. If you're super busy during the week, then maybe twice on the weekend, so Saturday, Sunday, if that's all you can do. So whatever you can do twice a week, and if you did a Saturday Sunday routine, you could do an upper lower split or two full body days. And if you did a Monday Wednesday routine, full body, or a Monday Friday or Tuesday Thursday, whatever you split, 2 days a week, full body training. You want to hit compound or full body movement exercises like hinging, squatting, pushing and pulling, crawling and carrying items. This is going to be your basic and most baseline types of exercises you can perform, full body movements using multiple muscle groups and focusing on form, and 70% one rep max. So about 12, maybe 15 reps is going to be our rep range for your first 4 to 6 weeks as a beginner athlete or a client. Then you can move into, after about a year of training, into your novice, or 2 years of training if you're able to adhere to a consistent program for twice a week. Then you would probably want to increase the amount of days to 3 or 4 days per week. So whether that's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday routine, or Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or some type of schedule like that. That's when you could start to focus on upper and lower splits as opposed to full body routines. Now, if you are someone who is a novice lifter, then I would focus on maybe isolating the movements a little bit more. So focusing on more single joint exercises as opposed to primarily multi-joint exercises. I think once you gain the grasp of those motor patterns like pushing, pulling, hinging, and squatting, you're going to also be able to benefit from the single and isolated movements like bicep curls, tricep extension, leg curls, that type of thing. But you have to really build your body up using the primary exercise patterns first. Once you've mastered those patterns, then you can start doing some isolated hypertrophy training or muscular endurance or even speed training or power training. You can change it up a little bit. Now, if you're an advanced lifter, this is when you can kind of choose a bucket of training that suits your needs. So if you're like a movement artist, you might want to focus on flexibility and mobility. If you are more of a power athlete or speed athlete, then or a power lifter, then you're going to want a different type of a training. And then there's going to be people that want to hypertrophy max, or people that want to increase their muscle density, their tone, to lower the body fat. These are the bodybuilding types of exercise training programs that I prescribe. And then if someone is into like Hydrox or CrossFit, those muscular endurance programs, that's a totally different type of training than hypertrophy, power, or your general training program. So just understand that once you've hit baseline and you become novice, you'll want to again eventually progress to an advanced stage of lifting, whether that's focusing on one of the buckets like movement, power, strength, or hypertrophy, muscular endurance, or conditioning. Now, conditioning can be factored in your current training program on your off days from working out. So, on your off days from working out, doing a long walk, long jog, bike, swim if you like that. But most people are going to adhere to a walking program. So, making sure you get 8 to 10,000 steps per day, but also trying to get that heart elevated enough where you are not panting, but you can maintain a to medium intensity cardio. Now, I currently lack on this probably the most, like most people, trying to find time to perform 40 to 60 minutes of cardiovascular training. For me, it becomes boring, cumbersome, and I get really just kind of more kind of skin problems from doing the long distance cardio training than I get anything. So that's something I have to think about and forget think about ways to kind of implement more cardiovascular training. But since I get 8,000 steps per day on average, I'm not too concerned, although I know that I need to increase that. But if you are specifically here for the hypertrophy aspect or the increased muscle size and tone, then you want to be on a 3 to 4 day week program, such as a um, upper lower split. So upper lower if you're doing 4 days. If you're doing 3 days, you could do upper lower upper. And then on the next week, you do lower upper lower, and then just switch every week, or every month. So there are different ways you can perform your hypertrophy training. The one thing you want to make sure is that you hit each muscle group, each target muscle that you're trying to increase in muscle size, at least 10 total sets per week. So if you want your biceps to grow, if you have to get at least 10 sets per week at about 8 to 10, maybe 15 reps. Remember, if you're a beginner, you're going 12 to 15 reps. If you're a novice or advanced lifter, or you're trying to increase muscle, 6 to 12 reps is good. You can combine cluster sets, complex sets, contrast sets, and drop sets as well, and circuit training to provide kind of maximal benefits and kind of all around benefits. So I suggest 4 to 5 days per week. If you're in that advanced lifter program, I would suggest going as many days as you can and having a strategy on Sunday. So understanding that Sunday to Sunday is when most people are going to create their plans for the week. So this would be the day that you'll factor in what days you're going to train, frequency. So how many days per week is frequency, the intensity, so how hard you're going to go. And then also you're going to think about the type of training you're going to be performing, whether that's hypertrophy, strength, conditioning, mobility, that type of thing. So depending on your experience and level, most people are going to want just basic hypertrophy, bodybuilding S types workouts, and that's going to give them that baseline benefit of not only strength but actual muscle size. But that comes a little bit after your first level or your first beginner program. You will gain substantial size in your first year of training, or if you haven't trained in a while, you'll notice significant gains in that first year. After that first year, you'll start to feel like you plateaued, and that's when you have to kind of add in more volume, more sets, more reps, higher intensities. So I don't really suggest that until you've done at least a year, 2 years, or 3 years of consistent adherence to a specific full body program. Then I'll put you on a isolated hypertrophy program. So if you have questions about that, let me know. So let me know in the comments, and we will talk live.